Elon Musk, the man who would be king. In the halls of power, there walks a man who doesn't quite fit the mold. Not a politician, not a traditional CEO, something else entirely. Elon Musk, the richest person on Earth with a net worth exceeding $684 billion. But wealth alone doesn't tell his story. This is a tale of a boy from Pretoria who dreamed of kingdoms and a billionaire who's building them. Born in 1971 in apartheid South Africa, young Elon wasn't your typical child. Bullied so severely he was once thrown down concrete steps and hospitalized. Escaping into books, The Lord of the Rings, Foundation, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. At 12, he sold his first video game for $500. The code for his future was already being written. At 17, he fled South Africa to avoid military service under an apartheid regime he despised. He arrived in Canada with virtually nothing, working odd jobs at farms and lumber mills. This wasn't a billionaire's origin story. This was survival. But survival turned to conquest. Zip2 sold for $307 million. X.com, which became PayPal, sold for $1.5 billion. Most people would retire. Musk was just warming up. In 2002, with $100 million of his own money, he founded SpaceX. The goal? Mars, nothing less. Tesla followed in 2004, electric vehicles when the world said it couldn't be done. Then came Neuralink, merging human brains with artificial intelligence. The Boring Company, drilling tunnels beneath our cities. And in 2022, he acquired Twitter for $44 billion, rebranding it as X, because even social media needed reshaping in his image. Each venture a kingdom, each success expanding his dominion over technology, transportation, and now human communication itself. But kingdoms aren't built on technology alone. They require political power. And here's where Musk's story takes a turn that even his biographers find remarkable. In 2024, he became the largest individual donor in American electoral history, pouring millions into Donald Trump's presidential campaign. When Trump won, Musk didn't just celebrate. He entered the White House as senior advisor to the president, leading something called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE for short. Suddenly, the man who built rockets was wielding a different kind of power, the ability to reshape the federal government itself, ordering mass layoffs of federal employees, cutting agencies, defying courts. But here's the thing about power. It's never enough. Not for someone who thinks in terms of civilizations, not quarterly earnings. Musk doesn't just want to run companies, he wants to save humanity, or perhaps rule it. He's injected himself into elections across Europe, backing far-right parties in Germany, feuding with prime ministers in the UK. He made a gesture at Trump's inauguration that many interpreted as a Nazi salute, sparking international condemnation. He's been called President Musk, the shadow president, the co-president by critics who see him as exercising power without accountability. A federal judge ruled he acts as the de facto leader of DOGE, despite the White House claiming he's merely an advisor with no formal authority. The truth seems to lie somewhere in between, a gray zone where influence and power blur together. But every king faces challengers, even or especially from former allies. In May 2025, after just 130 days, Musk departed the Trump administration following a spectacular public feud. He called Trump's legislative agenda a disgusting abomination. He alleged Trump had ties to Epstein. He called for Trump's impeachment, his third. Trump responded by threatening to cut Musk's government contracts and warning of very serious consequences. The alliance that shook American politics had combusted in spectacular fashion. Musk later apologized, saying his attacks went too far, but the damage was done. There's a price to Musk's ambition, and it's measured in lives. His cuts to USAID, the U.S. Foreign Aid Agency, are estimated to have resulted in 400,000 deaths by November 2025, most of them children in the world's poorest countries. Bill Bates accused him of killing the world's poorest children. Boston University modeling suggested 300,000 had died by May alone from the loss of critical health programs. Musk's allies defend these decisions as necessary efficiency. His critics call it catastrophe. But efficiency in Musk's worldview often means sacrifice, and those sacrifices are rarely made by him. What drives a man like this? Musk describes himself as a moderate, though his views have shifted dramatically rightward. He's been characterized as libertarian, far-right, and increasingly authoritarian. He supports far-right movements across at least 18 countries, amplifies conspiracy theories, and has been accused of spreading racism, anti-Semitism, and transphobia, charges he denies while continuing to make inflammatory statements. He calls himself a cultural Christian and a pro-natalist who believes population decline threatens civilization. He's fathered at least 14 children with multiple women, though sources close to him suggest the true number may be higher. Building a dynasty, one might say. Here's the paradox of Elon Musk, a man who speaks of saving humanity while cutting aid that keeps the most vulnerable alive, an immigrant who rails against immigration, a self-proclaimed free speech absolutist who suspends journalists and critics, a proponent of efficiency who's embroiled in chaos, a billionaire who claims to be cash poor while worth hundreds of billions. In November 2025, Tesla shareholders approved a pay package for Musk potentially worth $1 trillion over 10 years if he meets certain goals. $1 trillion for one person, in a world where his policies have allegedly contributed to hundreds of thousands of deaths. Walter Isaacson, one of Musk's biographers, wrote something revealing. There is an anti-modern impulse to Musk, a craving for lordship that can't be entirely satisfied within the confines of a capitalist economy. A king doesn't have advertisers or shareholders or customers. And that's the key, isn't it? Musk doesn't want to be a CEO. He wants to be a king. Kings don't answer to markets or voters or laws. They shape reality according to their vision. Musk has tried to do exactly that, building companies that answer only to him, acquiring platforms where he controls the discourse, advising presidents, influencing elections across continents. But modernity keeps getting in the way. Advertisers flee when he amplifies hate speech. Shareholders sue when he acts recklessly. Governments push back when he meddles in their politics. Democracy, for all its flaws, has limits on personal power. So what will Musk's legacy be? Revolutionary entrepreneur or reckless oligarch? Savior of humanity or destroyer of democratic norms? Builder of the future or prisoner of his own ego? The answer may be all of the above. Musk has revolutionized electric vehicles in commercial spaceflight. He's also wielded unprecedented private power over public discourse and government policy. He's pushed boundaries of innovation. He's also pushed boundaries of acceptable behavior for someone of his influence. History will judge whether his ambitions served humanity or himself, whether his kingdoms were worth the cost, whether a boy who dreamed of saving civilization ended up threatening it instead. Aristotle said a good ending should be surprising but inevitable. Multiple finales seem possible for Elon Musk: triumph, downfall, transformation. But the story always begins the same way. Once upon a time in Pretoria, there was a boy who wanted to be a man, and then a man who wanted to be a king. The question is, what happens when a king rules without a crown, accountable to no one but himself? That's a question we're all living through the answer to right now.